Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a miserable Monday production. We are now in the FSV Schedule A, the Tier 7 wheeled tank, and we are here on the old Himmels Oyster Bay Dorf. I have been beating this drum that we're going to talk about today for a long time, and probably in particular recently more than maybe you want to hear, but this is a different map than I usually show it on, but it illustrates it almost perfectly, and that is the concept of quit pushing flanks just because you won. You have to pay attention to what's going on around on the rest of the map. And I make a huge mistake here. I did not need to come into that bush because I got lit and then I eat. 256 points, and that was just a plain old mistake. 271 goes in there. Alright, so we have guys on both sides. Artie takes a poke at me. I don't get hit. That's nice. Good thing too, because this thing cannot take an Artie hit at all. 271 gets in there. He gets nuked. He gets a little too far forward right there. I like what he's trying to do, but he's getting jumped on by several tanks. Might have actually had a shot on that guy when he poked around. So we have guys on both sides. Not a bad deployment overall. Nobody in the middle. Looks like their 1357 is the guy who probably spotted me. He's probably hanging out in the middle somewhere on the south side of the airfield there. And we have a decent crew over here. We've got two of our 9s. We have the Centurion and the T-54 over here. The other two 9s are on the other side. Initially, we've got the standard intelligence gathering phase. Where is everybody? What's going on? Are they making a mistake in their push? I don't get lit there, which is interesting. I'm starting to wonder where their 1357 is. Alright, I get lit that time. Could have been a number of people, maybe even the BZ if I got a little too high right there. A little too tall. A little too proud. So, nothing really to see here yet, right? And that's what you're going to do in this game. You're going to pay attention to how it's going, try to get your shots, try to work your flank as much as possible. I noticed the T-54 moving up, so I'm thinking, alright, might be time soonly to help. Oh, okay. Centurion's moving up. Let's see if we can break down this flank and win, right? I've got two of the 9s. Let's go support these guys. They got a Ferdy, an SFV, and a Skoda that we can see. Looks like the Centurion's just going to come in and finish off the Ferdinand. And I want to show you something here. This is really interesting. So I auto-aim. Here's a PSA for everybody. So auto-aim will centroid. Boom, right in the middle. Now, I don't know how much of the tracks it takes into account. I think what it does is the bottom of the tank, wherever that happens to be. So the space below the tracks is not counted in the centroid. So it's the center of the hitbox, essentially. But the Ferdy's a weird shape, isn't it? And look where it's aiming. You'd much rather be aiming here, and that's done with a manual aim instead of auto aim. I do it the lazy way, plus I'm moving. And let's see what happens here, because this is fantastic. Oh, ricochet. So lots of opportunities here based on where it was aimed. Is, you know, it could have gone left and missed. Could have got into the gun. So just not a great aiming point right there. Wasted a shot. Should have known. I kind of thought about it as I went. Try to track him. Doesn't work. Oh, geez. Tracking is not as reliable a thing as it used to be based on the different equipment. I get hit by this guy, so let me just get him. Nope, we'll just miss him. That's fine. Okay. He's got the little gun. Alright, so we'll slap him for 150 because that's our alpha. Nope, 122. That's good. And he dies. Stop the presses. Stop. Think about it. Look at it. Look at the mini-map. Choose your own adventure, my friends. What is going on here? Well, back there we got 3 TDs, or maybe 2 TDs. I think it's actually 3. We have a significant force here, and we've won this flank. That's a good thing. But look at the numbers. It's a 4-4 game. They lost their BZ. He foolishly went in the middle. That's good. We killed a Ferdinand, an FSV, and a Super Cat over Super Cat. No, I like Super Cat better than Super Hellcat. We killed a Super Cat over here. Do we turn around and go clean up their push? Or do we herder straight into their cap when the conditions for that move are not really set? Because if this team is smart and they are seeing this happen, so say you're on the purple team, let's just change gears for a moment, and you were sitting around over here, or you're in a fast tank and you're fighting these dudes, and you look over and you go, oh, looks like the north flank lost. I can see the Skoda running back because he'll be able to see where the Skoda is and whatever other tanks might be there. Let's come over here and defend from this area because it's not that long of a drive, and we can clean up and kill the guys who are threatening. We've already sort of punched this flank in the south in the face, so they're not probably pushing very hard. Seems like a pretty good idea, doesn't it? So do you continue to herd her into their cap when the condition isn't set, or do you turn around? I see this. I'm like, you know what? This is not looking good. Let me turn around. Let me see if I can go take out these guys who are pushing the KV and the Conway. We have plenty of time, 11:52. Now, let's just pause for a second and talk a little bit about this a little bit more, because it is the case that if both flanks were winning, you would probably keep pushing. Say the south flank over there, the KV and the Conway, had kind of gobbled up 3 or 4 of their tanks, and now it was more like 4 to 7 or 4 to 8. Absolutely, keep pushing, put pressure on them, 100%. And it's fine you're putting pressure on a flank that's fallen, but the problem is this other flank is still very active and strong. They have as many tanks as we do. And just a quick little shift over here, and now you've got snippers, and you're trying to push into what is really kind of an open push. It's not easy to push from where they are right now. Let me get the map higher. It is not easy to push from this area where the Centurion and the 54 is across. That's all open. You can sneak eventually back where the T-50 is running off to. So he's going to head back here. Lots of places to hide back here. Poke out, take your shots. Then you're supported with crossfire from the guys here. Analyzing what's going on. Now this is one of the 30%, or if you want to say 33% of the games that your decisions have an absolute impact on. Sometimes it's a romple in your face, so to speak, and you just get crushed. And you could switch flanks and do whatever you want, and your team loses in every direction. Or maybe you didn't have a good game and it's just a loss. You're not in the game to do these kinds of things. You died early, whatever, or you get completely rolled up. All right, noted. So 33-ish% of losses, or of games, right? They're losses basically. And I'm pulling these straight out of my arsehole, but it's a good generalization. All right, generalizations are important. They are not specifically true every time, but they are generally true. It's important to understand. 33% of the games, it's a romple your way. Like the south flank wins, you win, and you crush them. And of course, there's some thrown in there where you die early and your team just rolls them up anyway. So that's the other 33%. The last third of the games, roughly, it kind of changes. And actually, your skill level will increase that number, by the way. If you're good, you bring into competitiveness more games. But call it a third, roughly, where your decisions matter, and it's kind of a toss-up, and it depends on the actions of 1 to 3 or 4 players. Like, what do those 1 to 3 or 4 players manage to do? Since you can only control you, that's what we talk about, so what do you do to try to turn this thing in your direction? All right, there you go. So this is one of those games, in my opinion. And honestly, if the Centurion, T-20, T-54, and Lanson had disengaged and come back and helped crush these guys, because here's the beauty about that, all right, about coming back. One of the many beauties. First of all, you're alive. You don't push into snipers, and you don't lose and die trying to get to their cap. The second cool thing is you've made a crushing move on this flank. They've lost a flank. We haven't yet, but they have. You pause for a second. All these mediums, and they're all fast, turn around and go back. They don't really know what the hell you did unless you telegraphed it. They're like, oh, are they still coming? That Skoda's probably thinking, oh shit, all right, how many of my buddies are coming to help me? Do I need to re-push? Do I need to flow all the way over here? What's going on? Also, you may have drawn some of these guys that way. So why let them have shots? They all run back here going, ooh, they're pushing our cap, and then you're gone. The next thing you know, you show up over here. And they've gone this way, and now they're like, oh shit, we got to go back. And let's watch that develop, because it actually kind of happens here. Look at that. T-25, the Charfooter, the Skoda have all... So 2 of them gone back. The Scorpion came back to get shots from the middle. Now, the enemy team is not immune to being dopey, because the T-95 and the Chrysler push. They're like, herder, we're winning, let's push. You got a T-95 with a lot of hit points. He's like, oh, I'm a T-95. We're winning the flank. I'm heading on in here. Well, now he's only got 700 hit points. And he's like, let's do it. I more or less uselessly sit back here and plink at him. Chrysler GF dies to the KB4 and shots also from the snippers, right? So they did the mistake I just talked about. They are pushing into the open relatively. We have snipers back here. We have these fellers back here, and they're tearing this little push, a new one. 2 tanks push in, and they die uselessly. See what's happened down at their cap? T25 Skoda, the Char, the 25/2, the Skoda T50, the Char. We lost 2 guys already. Good news is, slight good news, one of our team figures it out, and the T54 says, well, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Centurion might be trapped. I don't know. Look at the Char. Char's probably reloaded. He's heading in. Let's go clean these dudes up. The FSV has Artie killing on his mind, so we'll take advantage of that. Now, this is not a case that I'm saying, you know, I played the perfect game. I don't have a whole lot of damage, 391. I am going to get a shout out by the Cat, Super Cat. I was trying to think of what I called it earlier. Our Super Cat. He's not too pleased by what I've been doing. He thinks that I've been camping, and I have been here a bit, obviously, but switched back to try to stop the push. Now it's still pretty even, 8-8, but we're not in great shape. We don't really have the mobility that they have with the Char, the Skoda, the Panther. I don't know what their hit points are. They're not quite as good as it looks, but we look to be down hit points, so that's a problem. And for some unknown reason, the Su-130 and the 25/2, who had been camping and sniping, decide it's time to push into a flank that the other team has reinforced. You find that a lot with TD players, and I don't know, I'm not really sure exactly what it is. I mean, it's a bit of lack of skill and SA, but a lot of times they tend to camp for a long time and then push. They just pick a flank and push when they think things are being lost, figuring they'll just go get damage or maybe they can make a difference. I don't know. They're not really thinking about, you know, should I really be still sitting back there? Or maybe I should have flowed over to the side. Flown would have been better. Flowed over to the side with the Scorpion and the Super Hellcat and the KB4. Very possibly. I'm trying to figure out what this Skoda is. I got this stupid airplane in the way, so just shoot through it. And that doesn't give me enough pen to get through that guy. Su-130 gets jumped on. No surprise. Auto loaders just shred the guy. T-25's next. They probably still have shots. And now I'm thinking, well, this is not good. It's gone from bad to even worse. Our 3 tanks are taking on their 3, and they kind of have a better situation over there. But we've got an S51. Let me flow back here to the cap. I'll find a bush. See if I can't get some shots for the Artie. Maybe one of the snipers can come back, but it looks like they're kind of busy. Perhaps the Super Hellcat. Oh, shoot, that was a missed opportunity, but the guy keeps coming. I don't think he knows he was shot at. And we get a kill. That's big. We got rid of the autoloader. So first things first, if you're going to win, you got to start killing guys. Hide from there, Artie. I don't want to get nuked. Although I'm not really sure where it is. Our S51, unfortunately, kind of gets out in the open. He gets seen. Their 1357 moves up is what happens here. He dies. Yep, there he is. Our Hellcat, the Super Cat finds him, but gets nuked by the 1357 and the Char footer. There's also a Scorpion out there. We get a couple hits on this guy, and now it's pretty much over. There's not a whole bunch I can do. Our 2 guys are over there. At least those 2 are together. Could have been a better idea for me to flow back with them, but then we'd have had the 1357 and the Char and the T50-51 back behind us, hang out around cap or kind of thing. So at least I slowed them down for a moment, but figuring out how we're going to win this thing is not going to be easy. Then I get to fight the mobility of the old FSV Schedule A right here, whose whole traverse is not very fun. I'm like, oh boy, that was close. Almost got to see the automatic turnover feature right there, folks. And we'll slowly, I mean, straight line, it's pretty fast, but it just feels like it's kind of in molasses, to be honest. I mean, I'm cooking along at 52, 53, not bad. But every time you turn, you just shave off knots. It's just a bummer. Another guy dies, the convoy is down, so really at this point, I'm just looking to pick up as many hit points as I can. I've only got 600. Pretty clear example, fellas. Honestly, very even game. Both flanks had enough tanks. We won one pretty handily. They were winning one. Only one of us left the flank and came back to try to do something. Eventually, two of us, the T-54, figured it out. I know this guy's probably going to hit me, so we'll just kind of back up. Maybe he'll miss? No, he didn't miss. He's on a reload. Those guys are coming this way, so in order to avoid being shot by them, I'll just come down here and see if I can get a kill. Got him auto-aimed. All right, fantastic. Duck and weave, duck and weave. You can't get me. He's going to miss, actually. Unfortunately, the 1357 does not miss the second shot, and I die at 950. So like I said, if we look at the mini-map here, we win the north flank, we flow, those guys foolishly push, some of their team comes back, we hadn't set the conditions to keep pushing around and flank them. This is a very difficult place right here to push, especially if they put snipers up on the hill, right there. And we hadn't won the south flank, so it's not a fact of we were pushing from both sides and had them pinched. This push into the cap literally had no purpose. It was almost, I would say it was doomed to failure. Yes, they could have got lucky and taken out a few of the snipers, or maybe they got through fast enough, but why risk losing a bunch of hit points in a foolish push when you could have just come back, sorted out their push, reassess back here with your forces together, and then move out from there. Difficult to do. It's a pub game. But I'm just trying to help people look at it from a strategic view, or sitting here at 1G. What does it look like when people say, pay attention to the flow of the match and react accordingly, and flow back or reposition or whatever, however you want to call it. Flex. It's not a word I've used in a long time. People got triggered about flex for a long time. But flex back over to another part of the map instead of pushing into snipers. Honestly, if you can avoid pushing into snipers in this game in any situation, isn't it really a good thing? Doesn't that almost always go poorly? Unless you have a really good push or a good approach, or a scout that's lighting them up or some such, just blindly pushing in across open areas. Is that something that is a good idea in World of Tanks? I think if we could avoid that, you might increase your win rate just a little bit. There you go. Let me know what you think. I liked it for this one on Airfield, or Oyster Bay. Sorry, not Airfield, although it does have an airfield. I like it on this one on Oyster Bay because it was a great example, and it's not a map that I feature a lot. You got to see a little bit of the changes over here on the north side. We didn't talk about it too much, but there were some changes, and plus the sniper position changed just a little bit right there as well. That's all I've got. Have a good one. We will see ya.